All right, hello everybody. My name is Neil Livonius. I'm the product marketing lead for Zoom Phone. How many here were at my last session 45 minutes ago? All right, welcome back. You get to hear more of me. So today, for this particular session, I'm here to talk about the feature of VideoFirst unified communications. And what I hope to do is to explain how and why we're doing Zoom Phone, why we're saying video first, what is a video PBX, and what's driving this, and why you should actually take a look at it as a solution for your company. So our vision, and the vision that Eric went through earlier today during the keynote, along with the rest of our product team, is we would like to deliver a frictionless video-first communications experience. And this sounds pretty lofty, but if you think about it, unified communications as a term has been around since the late 90s. And it sounds great on paper, but the problem is nobody really delivered on it. I had a phone system. I had a phone system that had voicemail. I can maybe deliver that voicemail to email. And if I could deliver that voicemail to email with unified messaging, I had unified communications. And then over the past couple of years, it's evolved to mean a lot more than that with collaboration, chat, messaging, etc. And there's a lot of history into that. And so as you look at that unified communications path, and you look at the collaboration path, there's a convergence. That on the PBX side, we started with the on-premise, analog, TDM, digital solutions that then became voice over IP solutions in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then about 10 years ago, we started to see the rapid adoption of cloud phone systems, cloud IP phone systems. And we went through the same evolution on the conferencing side. So we started out with the telephone conferencing services that you'd pay thousands of dollars a month for just to have a conference bridge. And then you could bring some of that on site with hardware-based video conferencing services that you would set up in maybe one boardroom in each location, and it was never used because nobody knew how to use it. Or if they did try to use it, it would take 15 to 20 minutes to get a conference established. So there was a lot of friction in preventing the adoption of it further. And then online meetings with Zoom over the past 5 years really coming to market and starting to show the world how easy it can be. And so as we see this convergence now that the time is right for a cloud video-first PBX. So what's driving this evolution? I think there are a couple different areas, and I'm going to spend a couple minutes on each one. The first area is, and not to sound like a cliche, but the consumerization of IT, right? So if you think about the current generation, how do they communicate? How do you communicate outside of work? My daughter is 14 years old. She's a freshman, started high school a few weeks ago. If I try to give her a call, if I need to talk to her for whatever reason, it goes straight to voicemail. Because this action of putting a phone up to her ear is very foreign. She's like, "Dad, what are you doing? What is that thing in your hand? Don't do that, you're embarrassing me," right? We cut the cord a long time ago. She didn't grow up with a phone in the house. She doesn't want to talk on the phone. But if I do want to get a hold of her, I send her a text message and I get an immediate response, right? But you know what she does if she wants to get a hold of me and talk in real time? She FaceTimes me. Because although she hates this, she loves this, right? And that's where we are as a culture. And what we're starting to see is this to come into the workplace. That with the Instagram, Snapchat generation, and with the way we have to communicate in our private lives, personal lives, that this is driving how we want to communicate in the office. Because IT can provide me with all of these tools, with a phone system, with a desk phone, most people don't want to touch it anymore unless they absolutely have to. But what we're finding is as we incorporate a lot of these consumer versions or variations on how to communicate, that adoption rates are going way up. And so that's what's driving us to provide this video-first unified communication solution where we can take as much friction out of the experience as possible and people can communicate in a mode that they're very, very comfortable with. The second part that's driving this, besides consumerization, is mobility. So before, with cloud phone systems, with hardware-based conferencing solutions, I was stuck. I was tied to a location, right? Ball and chain at my desk. If I needed to make a phone call, I had to run back to my desk and make it. I couldn't do it from the car. I couldn't do it from the home unless I wanted to use my personal phone number. And so with now, we're very mature from a mobility perspective. Everybody has a supercomputer in their pocket. We're able to provide all of these different modes of communication in a seamless, frictionless app. And so this is the second part of what's driving this video-first adoption. The third part is technology. Now, I know I put a lot of words on here, but really the cloud does say it all. Before the cloud, if I wanted to deploy something to my remote users, to my mobile users, how difficult is that, right? How many people like setting up NAT traversal and port forwarding and all of these things to enable a mobile app connected back to my on-premise PBX? It's terrible. It's hard. I don't want to do it. It doesn't work half the time. It's a security risk. So when we are able to take all of this technology, put it into the cloud, deliver it with great quality of service at a reasonable cost, that is the third part that's really driving the evolution of business unified communications. So how will your company benefit, right? So there's a lot to this. First of all, what we've seen is a couple different things. First of all, you get to keep up with the current communication trends, right? Join the Snapchat, Instagram revolution, right? So let's provide some features, technology, and capabilities that your customers, your employees, users actually want to use. Consolidate all of your communication solutions into one service provider. Meetings, video, chat, phone, room solutions, and an open API platform provided from Zoom helps you bring all of these things together in one seamless application that provides an improved user experience. So if it's all in one app and it's easy to use, I'm probably going to use it. And I'm going to use it because I can choose which mode of communication I want to speak in. I'm not handcuffed to only voice, only video, only chat. And so as a result, we're seeing video become mission critical. As employees are more used to talking with the camera on, they expect it to be there. How many people here have been video shamed on a meeting where somebody says, hey, I can't see you, turn your camera on, right? We do this at Zoom too. If I'm in a call now and I'm talking to somebody and they don't have their camera turned on, it's weird. It's like talking to yourself now. We're getting so used to seeing people as we interact, whether that's through social media, FaceTime, or now in the business environment. It's become more and more expected, and we're seeing productivity increase as a result of it. So this is driving that workforce evolution. And of course, people want to have a trusted advisor, and we want to be that advisor for you to help you navigate the cultural shift to a video first. Now, don't just take my word at it. We've been running surveys since we announced this to find out how is it really affecting our customers. Is it all just talk? Is it marketing speak? Or is it really making a difference in the lives of employees? And what we have found is that it had a positive impact in 92% of all of our Zoom users. If they're a meetings user and they're turning video on, that performance and productivity gains are there, they're measurable, and they're real. And the primary benefit is it creates a greater sense of trust. If I can see you, I can read your body language, I know what's going on. Are you agreeing with me, not agreeing with me? Are you paying attention? Are you browsing and doing other work and you're not really there? So these things help enhance productivity because now there's more accountability through that engagement that's being driven through the use of video. Make sense? So when companies switch to Zoom, we generally see an 85% increase in adoption of video. And we're providing these tools to make sure that it's all there and that it's super easy to use. Now, when we do it, we want to make sure we're delivering it with a frictionless experience. So in my previous presentation, I talked about all the ins and outs and capabilities of Zoom Phone. But we also want to make sure that those capabilities apply throughout the entire ecosystem. So making sure that if I speak or I initiate a call, a video call, a meeting on my mobile device, I want to be able to flip it to a room, flip it to my desktop computer, flip it to a PSTN phone if I have to. So making sure that we have this continuity of interaction between all of my devices and different modes of communication as soon as you go from voice to video, to a room are there and supported, and we provide it in a very easy way. And what we're also seeing, and probably the biggest benefit for you, for the IT administrators and owners, we're going to reduce the amount of overhead. Now, a lot of people say, well, I've already invested in this PBX, I've already invested in this room hardware, it's paid for. Is it really? Think about all of the ongoing expenses. Are you paying for service providers? Do you have phone lines? You have maintenance? You have spare parts? You have additional training, dedicated personnel? You're having to pay all these different vendors for their point solutions, and it can become quite expensive. And not only from a cost perspective for those parts and services, but also for the time and productivity lost in trying to maintain all of these relationships. And with Zoom, you have all-inclusive, run throat to choke, if you will, for video-first unified communications. So all of this data is pointing to that we are becoming a video-first world. And it's become more and more important in how we communicate today. You may not believe it now, or you may not see it in your workforce, but trust me, when people start to deploy Zoom for video, for meetings, and for phone, those adoption rates are real, those productivity gains are real. And so at the end of the day, we're really going to help you simplify your stack, bring everything into one solution, built on this great video communications platform. So with that, I know it was short because I've been up here for an hour and a half now. I'm going to open it up for questions I didn't get answered maybe in the Zoom phone solution, or questions you might have about our unified communications story. Question over here. We'll wait for the person with the microphone to run up.
On those productivity percentages, how did you measure that? Is it like through survey or?
Yeah, so we did it through survey to our customer base. And to come up with the productivity numbers, we surveyed two different personas. We surveyed the CXOs, so your CIO, CEO, COO, and we surveyed the information workers themselves to have a better understanding. And then we reconciled the data. Yeah. Any other questions? Here in the back.
In the keynote, we saw someone moving from I think it was a desktop call to mobile call and then into a Zoom room. Will it be possible to do that with video as well? So transition your video call all the way through those platforms?
Yeah, today you can flip a video call to a room. Yeah, so we're working on it, yeah, and should be able to do that this quarter. There's a question right here in front. The microphone behind you.
Oh, there it is. All right, thanks. We currently are using Zoom, and we have not yet adopted Zoom Phone yet. And we don't use Zoom for chat, though. Is that going to affect the adoption of Zoom Phone for us?
Not at all.
Okay.
The beauty of Zoom is you can choose which components you want to use. So you can only use meetings, or you can only use chat. Use meetings and chat, not phone, or meetings and phone, not chat, because you might be using Slack or something else. Sure, that's okay. Question up front.
I thought the feature was really cool. We haven't tried it out yet, but I was curious what was most challenging, because no one else has offered it, so what was most challenging about offering this?
What was the most challenging part of offering the complete solution or just one component?
The unified solution.
So the way we built it, we were a meetings first company, so we built the collaboration with video as part of that. And that really was the hardest part, because meetings or video requires a lot of overhead from a processing perspective, from a bandwidth perspective. And we had the best engineers in the world. the engineers that kind of invented online meetings built Zoom Phone. So because of that, collectively, I think there was over 1,000 years of experience between all of our engineers, knew how to do it, and they did it well, and they were able to iterate because we're this third generation of video communications. And so once we had that core foundation in place, being able to come in and add PBX capabilities with Zoom Phone was very easy because it's a very lightweight application when compared to what's required to deliver video. So it was, yeah, so video, we already did the hard part. Phone is just, let's just do it. It's easy. Question over here up front.
On the phone front, when downtime ends up costing you money in a call center type of environment, what are the kind of reliability differences there between Zoom Phone, which is cloud-based or whatever, to your traditional PBX type?
So we understand that voice, at least with cloud PBXs, that there's a higher expectation for reliability, that it must be high. So we are building for that. You know, we've put in place the tools, active-active architecture with globally distributed soft switches to ensure that there's never a single point of failure, that we can maintain that uptime. But we will back it up with a financially backed SLA if needed. So if there is an outage and you're looking for recourse, we'll stand behind our product. If it's a call center, like a revenue generating call center, we're not call center, but we do partner with some of the leading call center companies in the world, like Five9, Genesys, InContact, et cetera. And so then that reliability would also be what they're able to provide to as their core business. Questions? Hands? Nope. All right, with that, I'll wrap up. One in the back.
Hello.
Hello.
How do you drive a cultural change when eliminating the desk phone and having your soft phone and everything integrated? Because we have Zoom Phone, but it's been a difficult transition.
What part was difficult? So you want to know how do we get everybody to go to video or to just adopt phone again? Or I guess, can you clarify the question a little bit more?
Sure. We have traditional PBX, and we adopted a certain number of Zoom phones to test it out. And the people who we gave Zoom phones are not using them. And because they still have the other one on their desk and they're used to it. So I was wondering if you guys had any experience in throwing everything out, or was it more, you know?
Take the other phone off the desk. So is it another PBX phone, or are you talking about their cell phone? Yeah, generally what we've seen is that once the Zoom Phone is there, whether it's through our app or on the desk phone, if there's no other way to communicate, that's what they're going to use. If they're still resorting to their personal device, that's a bit harder. But that's why we focus on making sure that the user experience in our applications are as easy as possible to use and let the user choose how they want to communicate instead of forcing them into one experience or another. Question over here on the right side.
Yeah, how do you solve the problem of 911 calling from soft phones and devices that can really be located anywhere?
So the question is, have we solved the problem, or how did we solve the problem? So his question is, how do we deal with emergency calling? I covered a little bit of this in the Zoom Phone session. I'm going to repeat that session tomorrow. But wherever required by law, we support enhanced emergency services, so E911 dialing. And what E911 dialing and support means to Zoom is that I can define the address or location of all of my Zoom Phone users. So when they do dial 911, I know which address to send to the PSAP so they can respond with emergency services to that address. So the administrator can define that address for the user, or the user can self-select their address which becomes important, especially if they're using our apps. They might be at home, they might be in a hotel room, they might be in the office. So they can pre-select which address they would like to be reported as their emergency location. And then on our roadmap, we're going to make it even easier with dynamic addressing based on IP addressing or IP mapping. But that's later this year. But today you can set static addresses, and then you or the user can choose which address I'm calling from. Answer your question? Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? All right, well, thank you everybody for joining. Have a great Zoomtopia. I'll be around. You can find me here if you have questions. The Zoom phone booth is over there. So thank you.